the payment is pain, right? The payment is our transference of something for whatever it is that we want to achieve.
Hi there and welcome. So this is a continuation of my series on storms and how we walk through them effectively. Today I'm joined by my friend Troy Reeves, and I hope this adds value to you as it's added value to me as well. The decision to do this series has many reasons.
I don't know if I can get through this. And when we're trying to work towards some level of success, and it can be really tough to keep going and try to maintain some level of momentum when that storm hits.
A lot of the people I'm talking to about the storms, we all understand that this is one area that we have very little control. There are so many things going on around us. There are so many different versions of truth, and a lot of people are in their own storm. And how can we look at this storm differently, especially knowing that we can't control it? Tough times don't last, but tough people do. So what would happen if we could use the wind and the waves of this to really prove our character and to get us to dig deeper, to learn how to add value in different ways?
I think for some people it's very challenging to reach out and to say, you know what, I'm struggling right now, and to seek that support.
Yep.
From the other leaders that we meet, from those other people around us. We want to put on that brave face and yep, everything's okay. I'm doing fantastic.
Yeah. Let's fake it till we make it. How are you doing? I'm stellar. No, I'm not. Let's be real.
Whereas, we need to be honest. We need to be able to, because you know what? I think everybody's going through their own something. But there's somebody out there who has just a little word or a little way of doing something that might move you in the right direction, that's got the right information, or that's going to help you just to keep moving and just to take that next step. And for me, just to have verbalized it even to you just today, right now, what I was experiencing inside myself this morning, just even saying those words to somebody helped me to feel better.
I don't know about you, but I would much rather follow a leader who was genuine about where they were at in their own struggle, instead of pretending that everything is rainbows and sunshine for them while the rest of the world grapples for whatever. Like, I don't mind being human. I don't mind letting people know, oh, by the way, I struggle. I don't mind letting people know this sucks. And how can we normalize the struggle and then still keep our focus on what are we going to be? Like, could we be real good stormtroopers? Not the Star Wars ones that can't hit the side of a barn, but how could we be like the Passchendaele soldiers from the movie that the Canadians were known as stormtroopers? We go into the storm voluntarily. We're not thankful for it, but you give me a target, I'm going to go hit it. You give me a hill, I'm going to go climb it. That's just what we do. How can we create that momentum that you're talking about and say, all right, so most of this isn't in our control, but what can we still do? Let's change the questions, not why am I in the storm, or why won't this end, or why can't I change? But instead, let's change it to the what and the how, and then start looking at, well, what do we need to do different? And how do we take one step towards changing our future by accepting our present and making an intentional shift somewhere? And let's focus on more practical things like, well, what do we do and how do we get there? And how can we add value to one another? And how do we grow as leaders? What would it take for us to leverage this storm? I mean, we look at stock markets, we look at some of the wealthy and the successful, they use crisis as opportunity. So we can turn adversity into advantage. How do we do that? How do we get our mind off of the storm long enough to recognize that this could demonstrate or reveal areas for improvement in our character? It could cause us to shift our business practices, which is what all of us are trying to do now. We can't do what we're comfortable doing. And we don't grow when we're comfortable anyways. So let's use this discomfort and grow something new.
You know what? As you were talking there, for anybody who's faith-based, you said we have to get our eyes off the storm. And it made me think of
Peter.
Yeah. When he stepped out of the boat. And it was only when he allowed his mind to get fixated on the storm, on the wind and the waves, that he began to sink.
Which, even listen to what you just said. He walked on water. A common man did what was deemed impossible because of who he was looking at. We can do the impossible. We can walk on water. If we keep our eyes fixed, we will do wonderful things in spite of the storm. But when we get distracted by the wind and the waves, you're right. What is ahead of us is sinking. And then we get complacent. We get frustrated. We start to throw a little pity party and hope that somebody comes and attends. And we can do better than that. We can fix our eyes. We can change our orientation point. And almost like a principle of marksmanship, you hit what you're aiming for. If we're aiming for all the things that could go wrong, that's what we're more likely to hit. Defensive driving uses the same strategies. When you talk about skid recovery, they never tell you look into the ditch. They tell you keep your eyes on the road. Because if you're looking at the ditch, guess where you're going to end up? So what we have is another opportunity to figure out, what are we looking at? Are we looking at how bad the wind and the waves are? What if we could look past the storm and realize there are calm skies? We can get through this. We will get through this. And that might bring up another point where, are we just going to go through life, or could we learn to grow through life? We will all go through this. We don't necessarily, we may not like where we end up, but we will go through it. But could we actually find the opportunity to grow through this instead? That requires intentionality. That requires awareness. That requires us to be more consistent in our practices. That requires us to handle pain in good ways. It requires us to look for the tension in our life and use that to grow something. It requires us to increase our capacity and not be the same today, tomorrow.
I think we all walk through many, many, many storms on our journey to wherever we're headed, whatever that level of significance or success that we're walking towards. We hit many storms on that journey towards it, and we're going to constantly be facing some level of pain as we grow. And, you know, there's even Jim Rohn who said, in life we have to suffer one of two pains, either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One is shrinking back and one is pushing forward. And we have to decide what pain do I want to feel? So even when I asked myself that question this morning, when I went, what am I even doing here? Like, I feel like I'm not making an impact. I feel like I'm not doing what I need to be doing. I feel like I should just stop. In that moment, I have two choices. In that moment, I have the choice to shrink back and to later on look at my life and go, man, I totally could have done that. Totally could have done that. I just needed to push a little harder. I think on our journey to our goals, on our journey to our mission, on our journey to whatever that level of success is, we're going to always have those options to either shrink back or push forward, and both of them are going to cause us pain. And indecision is still a decision.
Indecision is a passive decision to let what anybody else throws into our life just continue to happen. So not choosing is a choice, like you're talking about. So we all have to choose. We have to be willing to look at this storm and then figure out, will we let it test our character? I love what you shared about the whole pain of discipline or the pain of regret. And a lot of people don't look at it that way. And that's something I've challenged people before, is you have to choose your pain. You don't get a non-painful option. So indecision will bring its own pain, because now you're passively accepting your life instead of learning how to design your life. And I think each of us could learn from that. Imagine we all took the challenge to stop just accepting what's happening What if we didn't accept the storm? What if we didn't just say, well, I guess this is it? What if we could change how we think? What if we could start to shift our perspective and we start to design our life instead? This storm happened. So what? Now what? And how do I grow through this? What is it that I'm actually shooting for? Who am I looking at? Where's my perspective? What's my focus? How can we challenge ourselves and start paying that pain of discipline up front and indirectly avoid the pain of regret on the back end? Because where would we be 5 years from now looking back? Are we going to be shooting on ourselves, thinking, I should have done all these things and I didn't. I didn't have the courage, or I didn't take the chance. What would happen if we could pay that price of discipline right now while we're being tested?
Like either way there's pain. Either way there's pain. Either way we have to pay. Right? John talks about pay now versus pay later. Jim Rohn talks about the pains. Either way it's the same concept. We have the payment is pain, right? The payment is our transference of something for whatever it is that we want to achieve. And then the payment just grows the longer we wait.